So can I share this story? Right?
Yes.
Go for it. Story time.
Okay. So one of my great regrets is I was up for the job of head writer of Clone Wars when they were developing the concept years ago.
What?
Nice.
I went through the interview process. I got through the interview process, and I met with Dave Filoni and one of the top executive producers. This is still when Lucas was running it, right?
Wow.
So this would have been like early 2000s. He made the sale to Disney in 2012. This would have been 2009, 2010. So this is still Lucas Star Wars, and they were developing the Clone Wars idea. I think the movie had already premiered, the animated movie, right? But they were going to develop it now in series. And so my agents like, hey, are you a Star Wars fan? I was like, oh yeah, I am. They're like, so they put me through the interview process. People liked my scripts. I kept going, and then the big meeting with Dave Filoni, who I was familiar with, right? And I had the meeting, and it was going really well because they're telling this was very exciting. I was basically one of the top 2 or 3 candidates. I'd gotten to that point. Only those upper level people were going to meet Filoni himself, right? And it was also one of the gentlemen from who I recognize his name. He's one of the big executive producers who'd been on in some of the prequel films. So he was still working with Lucas. And they told me, whoever gets his job we're gonna take them to go spend 6 months at Skywalker Ranch with George and develop the storyline for this new thing, right? I was like, oh my God, 6 months staying at Skywalker Ranch and sitting in a room with George Lucas and creating this new mythos. Oh, you better believe I want this job, right?
Yeah.
And so I almost had the job. I mean, I even brought like a visual art book, I think that Dave Filoni had done. I had him autograph it. The interview was very nice. He was very charming, had his hat and everything, whatever. And everything was going great. And then I blew it. And I blew it in a way that is one of the great ironies, because he ended up doing what I blew, right?
Oh,
so let me tell you what happened, because Lady Bayfire guided me to it. So what happened? So everything was going great. The meeting was going great. I really thought, man, I might have this job. I might be working with George Lucas in a couple of weeks, right? Everything's great. I'm charming. I'm telling my knowledge of this stuff. And then I start going on about my personal. I started going off about, well, George, because I'm a student of religion. I've talked about it on our last thing together. We talked about mysticism, religion. I'm a Sufi mystic and Islamic mystic. And I talked about how, and I said to Dave, I said, well, George is very well educated in religion, which is my background, right? He actually studied, Buddhism. He studied Zen tradition. He studied the Taoism, that, the force really comes out of Taoism, the yin yang symbol, right? And all that stuff. And I talked about it, and he studied Islamic mysticism. And there's a reason he went to Tunisia and filmed the original Star Wars there, right? He's familiar with Islam. There's a lot of Arabic words, Mustafa and all these are all words based on Arabic, right? And so he had, he had a lot of these Arabic related words, and so he knows Islam and Sufism. And so I started talking about the mystical ideas that were in the show. And I said, one of the things that's within the yin yang symbol that I think that George was setting up, that I would love to explore in this Clone Wars thing you're playing with, is the idea that maybe the Jedi aren't the good guys of the story. Because the idea,
I wanted that like so much, because I liked it in high school, and what I always wanted them to do was someone to ask the question and just say, hey, look, the Jedi, they're stealing children, like they're forcing them to go into the thing with Force sensitive, like it's just the Jedi Order, there aren't any orders of like
So I say all this, and I use the yin yang symbol. I said, look, within Taoism, the yin yang symbol, within the circle of light, or within the half moon of light, there's a point of darkness, and within the dark light, there's a point of light. Because within the idea is that even within darkness there is light, and within light there's darkness. And I think George would want to explore that within the Jedi there is a hint of darkness that is actually going to expand and create their own destruction. Right? Yeah. I think we need to show that. This is the Clone Wars, which you've been hearing about since 1977.
I know, that would have been the best time to show it, if there was some kind of like schism in it. And like one of the things from the EU that I thought was so fun was the idea that like if you played the tabletop RPG games, and you could play a gray Jedi. I always like that. I love that idea where people were like, I am not going to do this. Or like, I liked in the Clone Wars too, where Ahsoka would start saying, like, you guys just serve the politicians. Yep. You're basically doing whatever they do. Senate wants.
This government is corrupt, and you're working with this this justice. So I said all of this with expecting him to go, that's brilliant. Great Jedi exploring the darkness within. And this is like 2009. So I haven't thought it out yet very deeply. And I watched Filoni's body language go from to this.
Really?
I watched
no.
Words, his face turns to stone, and I was like, "Oh shit! I just lost his job. Oh shit!
Oh my God.
I knew
That's so sad that something like that would just like immediately just.
But that's his
I didn't know
favorite
what
character. His
I didn't
favorite
know what
character.
I didn't know what happened. So I didn't get
Unbelievable.
I didn't get the job, and I was heartbroken. But then a few months later, I got this job on the Tron animated series. Which, if you ever want to do a video on Tron, I'm happy to talk because I ran
so
the Tron
cool.
animated series, right? So I go to this, I get my next animation job, which is also prestigious. Tron. It's actually it's on Disney Plus. You can watch it right now.
Amen.
Right? So I'm the head writer of the Tron animated series. So I do become a head writer of something else, another prestigious franchise. And then when I'm there, just a few months after that interview, there's a woman that joins the team on the animation side, and she's come over from Skywalker Ranch. She was working with those guys, and then her new job is with Disney, so on the Tron thing. And so I was like, "Oh, so you were working with Filoni, and they were doing this Clone Wars thing?" He's like, "Yeah, and they got their team. They're meeting with George." And I was like, "Okay, so that's all happening without me, right?" And then so I told her what happened. Can I share with you what happened? This is the thing. And she looked at me, and this is what she said. And Mr. Filoni, forgive me, you're watching this. You're like, that's not what happened. I'm just telling you what she said, and so I'm just going to share it, right? So she said, "Oh, of course, Dave didn't like you." I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Lucas is his that's his ticket, right?
Yes.
Lucas is his ticket, and he's prides himself." And again, this is long before Jon Favreau entered the picture, a decade ago, right? He prides himself on being Lucas's right-hand guy, maybe a successor, and he's Lucas's Vader, right?
Yeah.
And he said the fact that you understood the Force on this mystical level, history, religion, that he didn't really know at that time, at least on that level of analysis, threatened him immediately. That's what she said. She said it threatened him. Threatened him because he said she would never put you in a room with George because George would this guy gets it.
Yeah.
And then you become the buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so awful.
And then, but years later, they evolved the show exactly the direction I said.
Yes.
Which is the gray Jedi, and maybe the Jedi aren't heroes, and maybe they're corrupt.
But that's the best part. His favorite character took your idea. He used his favorite character to show that irony in the Jedi, which that's even worse. Like, he took your idea and then made his favorite character the one that proves it.
Yeah, they got there. I'm sure when he got to a place where he was ready for the idea,
right?
Then it was his idea, and then I'm sure he took George.
But Hollywood must be like that a lot, where like, oh my God, this guy's a threat. He's
yes, goodness, yes.
My entire journey is I've got a big mouth. I because as a friend of mine said to me once, he's a director, he said, "Cameron, the problem is it's too much. You are, because look, and this is gonna sound like self-aggrandizing, but let me just say, none of this has helped me." So he said, "You're highly educated. You went to Ivy League schools. You have 4 degrees because I have like a JD and an MBA and an MFA. You got 4 degrees. You write incredibly fast. You've been nominated for Emmys and on Golden Globes, whatever. And you're a brown Muslim guy. This is too much.
Too much. Check too many boxes.
Not what they want on any level. You threaten them on every level. If you're a white dude, it's too much. And then you're the brown dude. That's even worse. And then you're the Muslim guy, you don't like religion. That's even worse. He's like, it's too much. And that's been my experience. Like, the moment you're like, oh, you're really good at this, you're done.
Yeah. You just said it to the wrong person. You should have waited that moment you met George, and then you go, bam.
And you drop it.
I'm this person. I'm an enthusiastic, honest person, and that has not helped me.